If I'm being honest, I thought my life was stable. Not perfect, not a fairy tale, but steady enough that I could breathe. I'm Clara Richard, 27 years old, and for the last 2 years I believed I was building something real with my boyfriend Michael Rodriguez. We'd been living together for 8 months, splitting everything straight down the middle: rent, utilities, groceries. I made around $75,000 a year working in software development. Michael made about $45,000 in marketing. It never mattered to me. Love evens out the numbers, or at least I thought it did. The irony: I used to think he was the stable one, the safe one, the one with the soft voice who apologized after every argument and held my hand when life felt heavy. I didn't know then that softness can be camouflage. The night everything broke began in the most ordinary, deceptively peaceful way. We were out with his 3 best friends, Ashley, Brittany, and Kayla, at some trendy restaurant downtown they'd all been dying to try. Girls' night, plus the boyfriend Michael joked as we walked in, but he didn't mind dragging me along. Or maybe he did, and he just didn't say it out loud. The lighting was low, the chatter loud, the kind of place where candles flicker more for the aesthetic than the illumination. We ordered, we laughed, we made small talk. Halfway through the appetizers, I excused myself to the restroom. The hallway back to the dining area curved slightly, so you could hear conversations before you could see the people having them. I stepped out of the bathroom and was still smoothing my dress when I heard my name. Michael's voice, clear, unmistakable. Clara's sweet and all, but let's be real, she's just a placeholder until someone better comes along. The world didn't stop. That would have been merciful. Instead, it kept going. Glasses clinking, forks scraping, someone at another table laughing too loudly while I froze. Ashley gasped, "Michael, you're terrible." "What, I'm being honest." He laughed light easy. "She pays half of everything. She's reliable. She's not awful to look at, but marriage material." "Please, I'm just comfortable right now." Kayla chimed in, whispering something about stringing her along, and they all giggled like they were discussing seasoning preferences and not my entire life. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. For a moment, I didn't even feel like a person, just a silhouette watching my own relationship unravel from 10 feet away. 2 years. 2 years of my life, and I was apparently the furniture. Useful, present, replaceable. I took a slow breath, my heart pounding so hard I felt it in my fingertips, and then I walked back toward the table, every step steadier than I felt. Michael looked up the second he saw me. His face lit up with a smile, warm, practiced, familiar. He even reached for my hand, the same one he'd been metaphorically prying off the relationship only minutes earlier. I let him take it. I didn't even flinch. The food arrived shortly after. I ate mechanically, participating in conversation just enough to mask the hurricane inside me. I laughed when they laughed, nodded when someone said something mildly interesting. I was an actress in a scene I hadn't auditioned for. When the check came, Michael did what he always did, reached for his wallet, expecting us to split it. This time I placed my card down first. "Just my portion, please," I told the waiter, pointing calmly to my entree and drink. Michael blinked. "Babe, we usually just split it." "Not tonight." I stood, looked him directly in the eyes, those same eyes I thought were gentle, loyal, safe. "Good luck finding something better, Michael." Silence. Dense, suffocating silence. Ashley's mouth fell open. Brittany stared. Kayla looked fascinated, like she was watching live drama unfold on her own personal screen. I placed the exact cash for my meal on the table, added a tip, turned, walked out. I didn't look back. My phone exploded before I even reached my car. Calls, texts, notifications piling so fast my screen lagged. I ignored everything. Drove home, packed a bag in under 10 minutes, called my friend Erica, who told me to come over immediately. When I collapsed onto her sofa that night, still in my dress, still smelling faintly of the perfume Michael used to say he loved, I felt absolutely nothing. Numbness can be a relief until it isn't. But the next morning, clarity. 8 a.m., sharp coffee in one hand, phone in the other. I called the utility companies. The apartment had originally been mine, so everything gas, electric, internet was still under my name. "I need to transfer service to Michael Rodriguez," I said. Effective immediately. "Ma'am, for the transfer, we'll require his authorization. He's an authorized user. Check the account." Clicking, typing, confirmation. Gas and electric would switch on Monday. Internet that same day. Streaming services canceled my share in minutes. By the time I hung up, the numbness was gone, replaced by something clearer, sharper. Boundaries. Cold, clean boundaries. Then I texted Michael. "Utilities are being transferred to your name. I'll be by tomorrow to collect my things. His response came instantly. Clara, WTF. We need to talk. I blocked him. The next day, Erica drove me back to the apartment with her pickup truck. Michael was already there, standing by the door with Brittany like they were expecting a fight. Clara, he said, voice firm but trembling at the edges, you're being ridiculous. It was just guy talk. I stared at him. Guy talk where you admitted I'm a placeholder you're using for convenience. Brittany stepped forward. Everyone says things they don't mean sometimes. She meant it though, Erica muttered behind me. I ignored Brittany's glare and went inside. It took less than an hour to pack my kitchenware, my gaming setup, my bedding, most of which I had paid for. When we were done, the apartment looked like a hollowed-out shell of its former self. Michael wasn't angry anymore. He was panicking. You can't just leave, he said, voice rising. Rent is due in 2 weeks. I can't afford $400 by myself. I lifted the last box. You should have thought about that before calling me a placeholder. His face contorted. Clara, I make $45K a year. That's like $2,900 after taxes. Rent alone is 80% of your income. I finished. Sounds like a you problem. Then I walked out, loaded the box, and shut the truck. Michael stared at me like I had just detonated his world. Maybe I had. He called again that night, and the next morning, and later that afternoon. I didn't answer. By Monday morning, 3 days after the dinner, the cracks widened. At 7:23 a.m., he called from an unknown number. Clara. His voice was thick, desperate. The power company says I need a $400 deposit, and gas wants $300. I don't have that kind of money. I didn't hesitate. I hung up. And for the first time in 2 years, I felt free. When I walked into work on Monday morning, everything inside me felt strangely calm. Not peaceful, just quiet, cold, and sharpened by the kind of clarity heartbreak forces you into. My phone kept vibrating in my bag, Michael calling over and over, but I didn't touch it. If he wanted access to me, he should have treated me like a person, not a placeholder. By evening, Erica's pickup truck was parked outside what used to be my apartment. I was there to collect the last remaining things, a box of documents, some clothes, my air fryer. Nothing that held memories, nothing that could sting. Michael opened the door almost the second we knocked. The sight of him hardly surprised me. He looked like he'd barely slept, a tense jaw, hair pushed back like he'd been raking his hands through it for hours. Brittany was sitting on the couch, legs folded, phone in hand, ready to leap into the role of backup singer for his outrage. Clara, can we talk? Michael asked, half-stepping forward. I'm just here to get the rest of my things. I walked right past him. Brittany scoffed in that way she does when she thinks she's the smartest person in the room. This is childish. It was just guy talk. I pulled open the hallway closet. Guy talk, where he calls me a placeholder who's good for splitting bills. You know he jokes around, she said, voice flat with disdain. He didn't mean it like that. I didn't waste my breath. I grabbed my box, handed it to Erica, and went back into the bedroom to gather the rest. Michael hovered behind me, helpless, unsure like a man, watching his life slip through his fingers, but still not understanding that he was the one who let go first. You can't just leave, he tried again. Clara, be serious. Rent is due in 2 weeks. I can't afford $400 by myself. That sounds like a personal problem, I said softly. His eyebrows shot up. A personal, Clara, come on. I make $45,000 a year. Rent alone is 80% of that. You should have considered that before humiliating me in front of your friends. By the time we finished loading everything into the truck, the apartment felt eerie, half empty, cold, like it already knew it wasn't mine anymore. Michael started to panic in earnest, then pacing, running his hands through his hair, voice cracking around the edges. Clara, don't do this, he pleaded. I can't live here alone. I walked past him calm. Good luck, Michael. I was buckling my seatbelt when he came down the walkway after me. You're unbelievable, he yelled. You're just going to abandon me. I looked right at him, no malice, just truth. Yes. And Erica drove us away. He stared after us in the mirror, like someone watching his safety net collapse. I didn't feel triumphant, didn't feel guilty, just free. Later that night, as I washed dishes in Erica's kitchen, my phone lit up with a call from Patricia Rodriguez. For 2 years, she had been sweetness and polite smiles, always calling me Mija, like she cared. I didn't expect what came next. How dare you abandon my son, she shouted the moment I picked up. I set the dish towel down. Hello, Patricia? Don't play polite with me, she snapped. Michael is devastated. He told me you transferred the utilities behind his back and left without a word. I leaned against the counter. Did he tell you what he said at dinner? That's different, she said sharply. He said it was a misunderstanding. How is she's just a placeholder until someone better comes along, a misunderstanding? You're supposed to love him unconditionally. People say things they don't mean. No, I said quietly. Being a doormat isn't the same as being loving. She hurled a stream of insults at me, pathetic, dramatic, ungrateful. I hung up mid-sentence. 10 minutes later, Michael posted a long message on social media claiming I had financially abused him and left him in a dangerous situation with no warning. Ashley and Kayla jumped in the comments defending him, painting me as the villain. I didn't fight. I didn't rant. I uploaded one screenshot Michael listed as an authorized user on every utility for the last 8 months. My caption was simple. Interesting how planning to replace me while using me for rent money isn't considered financial abuse. An hour later, the entire post vanished. On Tuesday morning, I woke up to 8 missed calls from Michael and 4 from Patricia. I ignored all of them. Around noon, an unknown number tried calling. I let it ring. A voicemail popped up. Clara, I need help. The electric company wants a $400 deposit and the gas company wants $300. I don't have $700 right now. Can you please help me just this once? His voice cracked on the last sentence. I deleted the voicemail without listening twice. By Wednesday, the tone had changed. No more guilt, no more begging, just entitlement. When I walked outside during my lunch break, Michael was waiting on the sidewalk, pacing like a caged animal. We're talking, he said, stepping into my path. No, we're not. I kept walking. He followed. Clara, stop being unreasonable. You know I can't afford this place alone. That's what happens, I said, when you rely on someone you openly disrespect. You owe me at least a transition period. I turned to him. I owe you nothing. That stopped him cold. He blinked like he'd just been shoved underwater. You can't seriously throw away everything over one comment, he said quietly, voice shaking. I can't do this without you. You should have thought of that before calling me temporary. His face fell. The fear in his eyes might have moved me once. Not anymore. For the first time since the night at the restaurant, I realized something. He wasn't mourning me. He was mourning the convenience of me. I'm done, Michael, I said. And this time even he knew I meant it. By the end of that week, something in Michael shifted. The desperation that had cracked through his voice on Monday had curdled into something sharper, manipulation dressed as vulnerability. I saw it in the way he called from new numbers, the way he lingered outside places he knew I'd be, the way his friends suddenly acted like unpaid public relations managers for his emotional meltdown. Every move he made felt less like heartbreak and more like strategy. And I'd spent 2 years ignoring red flags he'd painted white. On Thursday afternoon, I stepped out of my office building, pulling my sweater tighter against the wind. My phone buzzed again, another restricted number, but I ignored it. I was halfway down the block when I heard footsteps speeding up behind me. Clara, wait. I didn't have to turn to know it was Michael. His voice landed somewhere between breathless and rehearsed. Please, he said, reaching my side. Just give me a minute. I kept walking, but he stayed beside me, matching my pace. He looked different today. Polished, hair-styled, clean-shaven, wearing the button-down shirt I used to compliment because it brought out the lighter flecks in his eyes. Clara, he tried again, softer this time. Can we just talk, please, about what I said without slowing down? Your rent, your utilities, your ego. He winced. About us. There is no us, Michael. He stepped in front of me, forcing me to stop. Can we not do this out here, he asked, glancing nervously at people passing by. Just hear me out for 5 minutes. 5 minutes wouldn't change who he was, but I was tired of the chase, tired of seeing him lurking in the corner of my day like an unfinished sentence. I crossed my arms. 5 minutes. That's it. He exhaled in relief. Okay. Good. Look, I messed up. I know that. I said something stupid, something I didn't mean. You meant it enough to say it, I replied. And you meant it enough to laugh about it. I was trying to look cool in front of my friends, he argued, stepping closer. Ashley always talks about guys who spoil her and worship her. I just wanted to fit in. I didn't mean any of it. That's even worse, I said. You tore down your own girlfriend so you could impress a room of people who don't even respect you. His jaw tightened, shame flickering across his face before he smothered it. He reached out and touched my arm lightly. Clara, I miss you. I miss having dinner with you, watching shows with you, waking up next to you. I miss us. I pulled my arm away. You miss the things I did for you. You miss convenience. Don't say that, he whispered. Don't pretend you don't still feel something. 2 years don't just disappear. Maybe not, I admitted, but trust does. His shoulders slumped, and for a second I thought that would be the end of it. But then his expression hardened. The vulnerability vanished, like it had never been real. So that's it, he snapped quietly. You're really doing this ruining both of our lives because you overheard one comment. I didn't ruin anything I said, you did. His lips pressed together in frustration. Fine. You want honesty? You're overreacting. You're acting like some victim when all I did was make a stupid joke. A joke? You called me a placeholder. It wasn't that serious. It was to me. Yeah, well, he muttered, maybe your standards are unrealistic. That did it. The last thread holding any part of me to him snapped. I stepped around him and started walking. He didn't follow this time. That night, the emotional manipulation switched tactics. At 11 p.m., Erica and I were watching a movie when someone banged on her front door 3 loud, sloppy knocks. Then a voice. I know you're in there, Clara. Open the damn door. Erica paused the TV. Is that? Yep, I sighed. More knocking, more shouting. 2 other voices chimed in female, equally drunk. Of course, Ashley and Kayla. I walked to the door, but I didn't open it. Go home, Michael. I am home, he slurred back. You were my home. You made it home. And you threw it all away. I didn't. I said something stupid. Haven't you ever said something you didn't mean? Not something that treated someone I loved like furniture. He groaned loudly. Clara, please. My power's off. My internet's gone. I'm freezing. I can't live like this. Erica leaned over my shoulder. Sounds like consequences. Ashley's voice chimed in. Then, sticky with alcohol and attitude. Clara, you're being petty. He's going to lose the apartment. His credit's going to tank. You're doing way too much over something that wasn't even serious. How is his inability to afford his lifestyle my fault? I asked. You knew he couldn't pay rent alone, Kayla snapped. Which is why I said evenly, he shouldn't have bragged about using me to split bills. Michael's voice cracked. Clara, please. I'll be homeless. No, I said. You'll just have to live within your means. You're literally abusing me, he spat suddenly. This is financial abuse. You're punishing me on purpose. Erica burst out laughing behind me. Michael, she's not paying your bills anymore. That's not abuse. That's adulthood. The 3 of them stood there another 10 minutes, hurling accusations shifting between sobbing and screaming. I eventually walked away from the door. Erica and I returned to the couch. The knocking continued a bit longer, growing weaker, then eventually fading into the night. The next morning, Michael tried a new tactic, legal threats. I got a text. If you don't help with rent, I'll sue you for abandonment and financial betrayal. I screenshotted it and sent it to my cousin, who happened to be an attorney. He called me laughing. He admitted to using you, he said. He admitted he couldn't afford the apartment without you. If he sues, he's basically confessing to financial dependence. This would be the funniest case I've ever taken. Could he actually win anything? Absolutely not. But I hope he tries. I need new office decor. It should have been funny. And maybe in some twisted way it was. But after I hung up, I sat alone in Erica's guest room for a moment staring at the wall. I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindictive. I just felt tired. Tired of defending myself. Tired of being lied about. Tired of being expected to mother a grown man who only valued me when I was paying half the bill. That evening, Michael sent one final message. You ruined my life. I'll never forgive you. It didn't make me angry. It didn't make me sad. It made me certain I had made the right decision. The following week felt like watching a storm from behind a soundproof window. Chaotic, loud, destructive, but far enough away that none of the debris could reach me. Still, the updates trickled in, whether I wanted them or not. Erica's phone buzzed constantly. Friends of friends passing along. Whispers about Michael, each story more unhinged than the last. I didn't ask for any of it. I didn't need to. The truth has a way of finding you when it's ready. On Friday afternoon, I got a call from Mr. Peterson, our former landlord. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. Clara, he said warmly, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Michael came by the office today. My stomach tightened. What did he want? He's trying to break the lease, he said with a sigh. Claimed you abandoned him and left him financially stranded. Did he mention why I left? I asked. Oh, he did, Mr. Peterson chuckled dryly. But then Ashley stopped by. Later, she's my neighbor's daughter. She told me everything he said about you at dinner. The placeholder comment, the rent talk, all of it. I blinked surprised. She told you that? I think guilt finally got to her. Anyway, I told Michael that you're still paying your half through the end of the lease. He didn't like that answer. I exhaled slowly. Thank you for letting me know. Between us, he added softly, you made the right call. I hung up feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. Not the kind of sadness that makes you regret, but the kind that quietly acknowledges how deeply someone you loved had failed you. By the time weekend rolled around, Michael's situation had deteriorated faster than even I expected. Rumors said the power went out Friday evening because he never paid the required deposits. The internet shut off that same night, and apparently he couldn't afford groceries after rent drained what little he had left. When I heard he'd been seen sitting in his dark apartment eating cereal with water, I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel satisfaction either. Mostly I felt detached, like I was hearing about a stranger. Then came the part no one could have warned me about. On Saturday morning, Erica got a message from a mutual friend. "You won't believe what Michael is doing today." A picture followed a flyer. Moving party. New beginnings after abuse. Help Michael pack as he moves on from a toxic situation. It didn't even make me angry. It was too pathetic for that. Apparently, 15 or so people showed up. Some out of gossip-fueled curiosity. Others because Michael had painted himself as a tragic hero abandoned by a cruel girlfriend. And since I wasn't there to tell my side, his version spread like wildfire. But the universe has a dark sense of humor. Because Erica was invited too. And Erica had no intention of ignoring an opportunity for the truth to stroll into the room wearing steel-toed boots. She went. I stayed home, curled up on her couch with a blanket, not wanting to participate in whatever meltdown Michael was staging. An hour later, Erica began sending me messages so detailed they read like a live broadcast. Apparently, Michael greeted everyone with a tragic expression, dramatizing every hardship. The power, shut off the gas deposit, the rent he couldn't pay. He paced around the half-packed apartment like a martyr giving his final sermon. He told everyone I had strategically abandoned him, that I changed utilities overnight, that I isolated him financially and emotionally. I rolled my eyes so hard I actually got a headache. Then, according to Erica, someone asked the question Michael hadn't prepared for. "Why did Clara leave?" Michael froze. He stammered. He deflected. He blamed miscommunication. He blamed stress. He blamed the alignment of the planets. Anything except the truth. But then Ashley, poor drunk, unfiltered Ashley, decided the silence was too awkward to bear. "Oh my God," she blurted out loudly. "Just tell them what you said. You literally called Clara a placeholder at dinner. Like you said it while she was in the bathroom. It was savage." The room went silent. People stared at him. Someone quietly put down the box they'd been carrying. Michael went pale. He tried to laugh it off. He tried to blame Ashley. He tried to change the subject. But the damage was done. More questions followed, but this time people weren't friendly. He panicked, talking too fast, saying too much, contradicting himself. Then Kayla tried to jump in, claiming it was all taken out of context. That only made things worse. One guy from Michael's gym walked out with a disgusted look. A girl from his marketing job shook her head and left right after. Within 15 minutes, half the room emptied. I imagined Michael standing in that half-lit, half-empty apartment, the embarrassment sinking in like water into drywall. And still I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. Tired of being entangled in the chaos of a man who didn't know the value of another human being until that human being was no longer available. But Michael wasn't done humiliating himself. Erica told me that after most people left, he huddled in the corner with Ashley and Kayla ranting about me. The evil mastermind, the financial manipulator, the abusive ex. It was absurd enough that several people who stayed only stayed because watching him unravel was more entertaining than anything they planned to do that afternoon. Later that night, when I thought the saga had reached its peak, ridiculousness, Erica gasped so loudly from the hallway that I thought she'd dropped something. I looked up. What now? She turned her phone toward me. Michael had created a GoFundMe. Title: Help Me Rebuild After Financial Abuse. Goal: $5,000. Description: 3 paragraphs of complete fiction. My first reaction was disbelief. My second was laughter. It would have been funnier if it weren't borderline illegal. Michael claimed I had blindsided him, drained joint assets we never had any, and left him homeless. The donations $127, all from Patricia. Erica actually clapped. My cousin, the lawyer, didn't clap. He sent Michael a cease and desist letter that was so professionally vicious I almost framed it myself. 24 hours later, the GoFundMe disappeared. By Sunday evening, the unraveling had spread to Michael's inner circle. People who once defended him were now avoiding him. Others sent quiet messages to Erica, saying they had no idea he talked about me that way, that they were sorry, that they felt embarrassed for ever believing him. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, letting it all wash over me. The chaos, the lies, the unraveling. It wasn't my responsibility anymore. It was simply the aftermath of someone detonating their own life and then looking around for someone to blame. And for the first time since the night at the restaurant, I felt something unexpected. Peace. Quiet, steady, overdue peace. But the story wasn't over. Not yet. 2 weeks passed before Michael found a new way to wedge himself back into my life. By then, the apartment was empty, the lease broken, and he'd moved back in with his parents, an outcome he'd once called humiliating when talking about other people. Now, it was his reality. I hadn't heard from him directly since the GoFundMe disaster, and honestly, I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd finally accepted the consequences of his own actions. But people like Michael don't end things with dignity. They end things with noise. It was a quiet Thursday night. Erica was out, and I was sitting on her couch with a blanket draped over my legs, scrolling through apartments for rent. My phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered. Clara. The voice was soft, hesitant, too familiar. I closed my eyes. Michael. Can I come over just for 5 minutes? No, please, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I almost hung up. Almost. But something in me wanted closure. Real closure, not a voicemail. Not screaming in hallways. Not legal threats. Not GoFundMe theatrics. A real final ending where I looked him in the eye and he understood I was done. 5 minutes, I said, no more. 10 minutes later, a knock sounded at the door. When I opened it, Michael stood there holding a bottle of the whiskey I used to buy on special occasions, my favorite. The one he always claimed was too expensive. He had dressed himself like he was auditioning for an Apology Chris shirt, clean shoes, hair styled carefully. He had put effort into looking like the version of himself he thought I'd want. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I stepped aside, but only barely. He slipped inside, eyes scanning the living room like he expected to find remnants of us, lingering in the corners. You look good, he said softly. Say what you came to say, Michael. He swallowed. Right. Okay. He set the whiskey on the coffee table like it was an offering. I've had time to think, a lot of time. And I know I said horrible things. I know I hurt you. I know I messed up in ways I didn't even realize. I crossed my arms, waiting. I was influenced, he continued, shoulders slumping. Ashley, she always talks about men with money, comfortable living, wealthy husbands. I got caught up in that mindset, and I thought maybe if I acted like her, they'd respect me more. But it wasn't real. I wasn't myself. None of that excuses what you said, I replied. I know, he whispered. But I'm trying to explain. I wasn't thinking. And you're the best thing that ever happened to me, Clara. I loved you. I still do. I shook my head slowly. You didn't love me. You loved what I provided. That's not true. You told your friends you were comfortable, that I was temporary. You used me to survive a lifestyle you couldn't afford. He sat down heavily on the couch. I know. I'm sorry. I hate myself for it. I'm trying to fix everything. I even got a second job. That isn't fixing what you broke. His voice cracked. Can we just start over? We can take it slow. We don't have to move in together again. We can date. Build trust back. Please. I'll prove to you I've changed. No, I said immediately. Michael, I don't want to rebuild anything with you. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. Why? He whispered. Because you didn't just make a mistake, I said calmly. You revealed who you are. He leaned forward. Okay, fine. What if we don't start over? What if we just go back to how things were? I'll move back in. We can split everything like before. I blinked, stunned. Do you hear yourself? You want me to pay half your life again, while you hunt for someone richer to replace me with? No, I swear I won't do that again. What lesson did you learn, Michael? I asked. The lesson that you need to be more careful about what you say, or the lesson that you shouldn't treat someone you claim to love like a backup plan? He didn't answer. Silence filled the room like smoke. When he finally spoke again, his voice was colder. You're really going to throw away 2 years over one stupid comment? Yes, I said. His face twisted, all softness dropping. The mask fell completely. You're pathetic, he spat. A real woman would fight for her relationship, not run at the first sign of trouble. A real partner wouldn't call me a placeholder. He stood abruptly, jaw clenched. I gave you the best 2 years of my life. No, I said steady and sure. You gave me 2 years of pretending, and 2 years of waiting for someone you decided would be better. You'll never find anyone like me, he snarled. That's the goal. For a moment, he stared at me like he wanted to break something, like he wanted to slam the whiskey bottle on the floor or scream until his throat bled. Instead, he grabbed the bottle, hurled it at my door, and stormed out. It bounced, rolled across the floor, and didn't even crack. I let out a slow breath. Free whiskey, Small consolation prize. After he left, the silence didn't feel tense or heavy. It felt clean, cleansed, like I'd finally carved out the space where he used to take up all the air. The aftermath came in waves, small but steady. Patricia and Robert charged Michael rent for living in their basement, claiming it was to teach him responsibility. His friends distanced themselves after the moving party disaster, especially Ashley, who sent me a message apologizing for encouraging Michael's gold digger phase. I didn't respond, but it was interesting. The lawsuit he tried to file was dropped after my cousin countered with fraud threats. Mr. Peterson returned my half of the security deposit without hesitation, though he mentioned Michael tried to claim damages to get his half back. Photos proved otherwise. As for me, I found a new apartment, a small one-bedroom with sunlight that poured through the windows every morning like a quiet promise of better things. I started therapy too, sorting through the rubble Michael left behind, trust issues, fear of being used again, the overwhelming relief of finally standing up for myself. Sometimes at night, I'd remember the girl I was walking out of that restaurant, the shock, the heartbreak, the numbness. If I'd known then how much peace was waiting on the other side, I think I would have walked faster. And the universe, in its endless sense of irony, wasn't done with Michael. A week after I moved into my new place, he texted me from a new number I didn't recognize. "I know you hate me, but I wanted you to know. Trevor asked me out, and I turned him down. I realized what I had with you was real." I blinked at the message. Trevor. The married coworker who made $150K. I replied with one sentence. Trevor Martinez, the one with the wedding ring.